those who believe that the Double Blues had their moment of glory in 2002 Sturt is back on top again. The two Blues dismissing the informed South Adelaide in round 7. Across at North Adelaide, Andrew Jarman has his own agenda. He's guided North Adelaide into second place, disposing of long-time foes Central District and the Eagles in consecutive games in what the Prospect faithful hope is a sign of things to come.
But all of you, the drinks aren't on me tonight because I've got no money left. Way go.
Woodville West Torrens hasn't lost 2 in a row for nearly 2 years, but the Eagles aren't flying so high at the moment. After a good start to season 2005, Ron Fuller's boys plummeted against South and then North in front of some stunned home fans. This afternoon, the Eagles can stop the rot at Alberton, but they won't find it easy against a focused Magpies lineup coming off a bye and still embarrassed by a loss to bottom of the table Norwood in round 6.
You take a mark, you're a big man, you take a mark, and you take a mark.
Pump up the volume. The SANFL is alive and kicking. It's the Magpies versus the Eagles.
Two clubs on the rebound after losses in their last performances, and Port Adelaide, well, they were very disappointing against Norwood, and the Eagles, well, they were even more disappointing. You have to go back to last century, though, the last time they lost 3 in a row.
Come on, Eagles!
Go, you Eagles, go! Go, you Magpies!
Yes, the Magpies. They're an interesting crowd down here at Alberton, and I tell you, you travel down that Port Road and you go past the cemetery and you come to the graveyard that is the Alberton Oval. Andrew Rogers, you'd know all about that. You played down here for several years.
Certainly early in the 90s. I reckon I played 7 or 8 times before I actually won down here. So, look, it's a very hard, but just recently, not so hard to win down at the Alberton.
You hope. Well, we look forward to, at quarter time, we'll be having the state game. Everybody taking a bye next week. The VFL against the SANFL, so join us for that. We'll have a look at the state game and talk to both coaches as we look at the results from last week. And Centrals, well, they're back in town, really. They beat West Adelaide by 120 points, and Glenelg beat Norwood by 30 points. Sturt over South by 35. That was a good victory for the Double Blues at Unley, and North thrashing your Eagles.
Yeah, disappointing for the Eagles last week. And you get a look at today's game, you see the Eagles against Port. You can see it's a real crunch game. The Eagles go to 5-2 if they win. Port drop to 3-4 or vice versa. It really closes up.
And the leading goal kickers, Ben Warren, held last week. And as we look down that list, Tim Inkster, the leading goal kicker for the Eagles, and he's been quiet as well.
Yeah, certainly the last couple of weeks, without supply as it goes forward, they haven't really had control of the midfield. Tim Inkster and, importantly, Mark Passador as mobile forwards have really struggled.
Just a quick look through those other clashes this afternoon. West Adelaide's won 6 of their past 7 at Noarlunga, but South Adelaide has finally shown some home form. Glenelg has won twice in 2004 over North Adelaide, so they would have some confidence going into that match. And Sturt, well, Norwood are 0-3 away from the parade this season, and Centrals, of course, having the bye. And overall, you mentioned that there's been some success for the Eagles here at Alberton more recently, but still Port naturally holding sway.
I think that would be indicative of most sides in the competition that Port would hold sway. Certainly that was set up in the early to mid-90s. Just lately, the last 3 years, Port haven't made the finals. The ledge is starting to square up a little bit.
Look, one of the reasons that there is a little bit of enthusiasm around at Woodville would be the form of Chris Knights coming in for his first game last weekend, collected 13 kicks, 9 marks, and rather 9 handballs and 3 marks and 2 goals. He was very good.
He certainly was. Really, he hadn't set the world on fire even in the reserves, and the Eagles, just through a couple of injuries, got his chance inside, made the most of it, and was really exceptional last week.
And Mark Soderstrom joins us on the boundary. As usual, Soder's conditions are a little different from last time when we were here.
They sure are. We have had some rain, but we'll get to that in a moment. Good afternoon, everyone. Just on Chris Knight's great debut by the 18-year-old Victorian last week. And for Eagles fans, you can catch him on Tuesday morning, 11:30 a.m. on Behind the News, and he'll be profiled on that particular show on the ABC. So good luck to Chris Knights. Soon enough, I'm sure he'll be wearing a Crows guernsey. Now, there's a late change for the Eagles. Nathan Bock has been claimed by the Crows, and of course, skipper Gavin Colville is out with osteitis pubis. And despite the results of the past 2 weeks, Ron Fuller hasn't hit the panic button.
Look, sometimes it's just a matter of degrees. It can be a little bit here and a little bit there. We probably just forgot how to attack the footy, or not so much forgot, but haven't been attacking the footy and playing our game.
A new look side this week in a way. The skipper's out, and we get to see Aaron Shattuck for the first time at SANFL level.
Yes, well, we all know that Aaron can play the game very well. He trained with us throughout the week, and he just adds a little bit of run to our back line too.
And as we look through that lineup, obviously there's still a lot of talent there. I mean, they won the first 4 games of the season before dropping the past 2.
Yeah, it's just a belief factor and just a confidence factor. They're playing reactive footy at the moment. Gavin Colville's loss gets offset by Matty Stokes. Looking more from Passador, expect Mark Stevens to start back, and Aaron Shattuck with the all-important job on Clive Waterhouse.
And so does Port Adelaide. Well, as we've talked about already, they've had 2 weeks to think about that loss to Norwood.
Well, they've got a big late change too. This is a big one. John Cale's not coaching today. Timmy Ginniver, the heir apparent, is taking control. John's actually home with food poisoning. So we get to see exactly what Timmy's like as a head coach. And Andrew mentioned Clive Waterhouse. He's a big key player for them. Well, he's named as centre half forward. Don't expect him to start there. I think he'll float around the half forward line. Perhaps Jeremy Jakes will get the spot in that key defensive role. And on Timmy Ginniver, well, he's still struggling to come to terms with that loss to Norwood.
Well, I've had some therapy myself, and it's been a long 2 weeks, let me tell you, Sodas, because it was our worst effort for the year. I mean, been really pleased with them in the first 5 games. They have performed well. Their endeavour's been fantastic, but that was a really disappointing effort. We've had to live with that for a fortnight, so hopefully we respond today.
Good opportunity today. The Eagles, they're wounded. They're coming off 2 losses.
They are, aren't they? But they're a very good club, and, you know, they've been great over the last 5 seasons. They've bounced back, so it's a real challenge for us today against a good club.
And they've got a good lineup, there's no doubt about that. There's lots of talent in that lineup. Be interesting to see how much criticism we can direct to Tim Ginniver, an ex-ABC commentator, as he puts that side together this afternoon.
We'll certainly study his matchups. Look, Jeremy Clayton's a really important player. Just added an extra aspect to their midfield. And Michael John, don't expect him to play full forward. He's battling the ruck with Lindsay and O'Hara, who will have a real determining factor on today's game.
And interesting also that Justin Cicolella is the stand-in captain this afternoon for Gavin Colville, and he won the toss and he will kick to the right of screen as you look at it at home. And very interesting that to note that Colville's out of the team, and it'll be interesting conditions this afternoon. We've already mentioned there's a bit of rain. So does what's the expectation for the rest of the day?
Well, there's no breeze to speak of. We are expecting a top of 23 degrees, so it is reasonably warm. We did have a lot of rain just before. It's spinning at the moment, so the deck will be very slippery and a day for the long stops, no doubt.
And that picture that we see of the windsock, that's something we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Just little breeze, conditions pretty good for footy in Adelaide to start the season. It's a little bit overcast this afternoon, as Soda's mentioned, a little bit of rain. It might be a little greasy, but we look forward to a really tough contest this afternoon between the Eagles and the Magpies. And joining us for the first bounce is Michael Maney.
Thank you, gentlemen. This will be a good game of football. Eagles on the rebound. The Magpies coming off the bye. Umpires Day, Williams and Feeler. They will have a big job ahead of them. Good crowd in at Alberton Oval for this round 8 match. Always a classic encounter. O'Hara in ruck. Up against Micklejohn, who just went a little bit early. Darzanos, who made a welcome return to the Eagles team last week, played okay. Clayton couldn't go through and take the mark. You would expect the Eagles to be pretty tough and hard at it in the first 10 minutes, Andrew.
I think you'll get a very good indication of how the Eagles and their mentality and their frame of mind today, as into how they start this game.
O'Hara got it out. Shark by McKenzie, who kicks it inside 50. Terrific work by Stevens. Just turned Archie around. It was King, in fact. Great work by King. Good body work on an experienced player in Archie. Just turned him around and kicked the first goal of the game. Josh King making a return to the Eagles side.
It was just smart work with the football by the Eagles. We saw Mark McKenzie just get a quick kick forward. It just favoured Josh King, who was able to work Archie out of the contest. finishes off with a relatively easy goal. So the Eagles, you can just see it's a very good start by them. They need to play with this intensity through the entire day.
Well, I guess in some ways the conditions certainly will help them to get in and under straight away. They won't have any choice. Taking that early lead, rain still persisting. A nice bounce straight up. O'Hara will get one for over the shoulder. Or hanging on, as the umpire indicated. You could have taken either decision. Taken, at least, either decision. O'Hara with the free kick. Belts it long. Suspect this might go over the back. It does. Mark taken there by Meiklejohn. Surprise, surprise, he didn't start at full forward, as predicted. Here's Elstone. Looks up, goes in short. And they build from the back to Pasquale, down to half forward. Stevens at the back, punch to the front. Nicely rode by Clayton inside 50, the low kick. Repelled by the Eagles' defence. Inkster was in there, he was paddling it around and finally took possession and was taken possession of. Soda's just a look down there at the Port bench.
Shea Cockatoo Collins, Nathan McDowell and Alfie Steed making a return to the side.
Alfie Steed, yeah, he's gone through some problems with injury, but he's back again. Stokes with a nice mark in front. He's got a player in Darzanos free on the far side of the ground, ignored it, went long. Watts just knocked it down to the front. Simmons down to full forward, Archie in best position, and just thumped it over the line. Authoritative defending by Corey Archie.
Yeah, that's what we expect there, but Port Adelaide a little bit flat-footed early. Just a little bit of concern with their intensity. Certainly the Eagles seem to be more hard at the footy and winning the one-on-one contest.
Josh King and Corey Archie just on screen there. Second ago. O'Hara down. Peter Fiacci threw it on the boot. It floats and floats. I think it might be through for a goal. You must make all you can of your opportunities. Peter Fiacci, a prolific kick getter, not so much a prolific goal scorer. That is a top goal from there.
And given the opportunities this year, has previously been a fringe player, not really part of the Eagles midfield. See there, what he's renowned for when he was younger was he was a real goal sneaker around goals and a very good crummer. Finished off nicely. The Eagles with 2 early goals. Tim Ginnivan must be wondering about this coaching caper.
Peter Fiacci, best and fairest 2 years ago in the reserves. So he's made some great strides forward, and especially this season, as Andrew Rogers mentioned, ball down in the middle. Clayton taking the ground with the long sleeves, and still Davis had possession, but only briefly taken to ground. And the Eagles bench looks like this.
Paul Lindsay, who's back from suspension. Chrissy Knights, who we spoke of earlier, great debut last week. And pinch hitter Vinnie Rugolo.
Chris Knights spent some time on the bench last week, but when he came on, he was very good. Collected 22 possessions in his debut. Stokes out of the middle again, they go forward. At the back, some good defensive work by Port Adelaide, and they've had to have plenty of defensive action so far this afternoon. Davis having the ball punched away from him over the line, and just a few words being spoken, a little bit of push and shove. We saw a lot of push and shove to start the game last week with North Adelaide. A few ex-Eagles in that lineup.
We certainly saw Luke Toyer and Danny Weiss heavily involved last week. Just expect the Eagles to learn from that last week. No head-high punches around the head to give away any easy free kicks early.
Robert Fiacci is going across there, knocking the ball out of play. We'll get another ball in at half forward for the Eagles. Still a lot going on. You can hear the umpires, and off the ball inside the forward line. It was Fergus Watts going at it with Morrison from Port Adelaide, as Meiklejohn and O'Hara go at the ball, is thrown in. To Pasquale, gets a hand pass out to his captain in Brown. Lees was claimed, play on. Hand pass again, just shuffled forward. Brown now, another hand pass out into space. Polton dodged one almost, now he's away. This side of the ground, he had Mark Clayton spare. Mark Clayton looks up, usually good off both sides, that no exception. And a mark inside 50 for Eilert. And Port Adelaide will have an opportunity to kick a goal.
One of the very few times they've had clean football as they ran through the midfield, and Mark Clayton, just good awareness there. Didn't just blast at the top of the square. Saw Cameron Eilert making his way into space, pinpointing with the kick. Important kick for the Maggies just to arrest his momentum.
It's Mark Clayton with 161 games of experience behind him, finding Eilert inside 50. He went very close to the man on the mark. In fact, it was touched. and eventually through for the minor score.
Yeah, Cameron needs to go back and work on a kicking routine there. So he can just get too close, but also there was a slight stutter just as he realised he was getting too close. Just needs something for Tim Ginnivan to work on in his coaching capers.
What do you make of Stevens starting at half-back when all the talk is that the Crows need a forward? Come back to that in a moment, Andrew. Floriani will get a free kick for a push in the back at half-back. Advantage rule paid. Powell just kicks to half-back. And there's the man in question, Mark Stevens. Starting off at half-back for the Eagles. Kicks down the wing. Big stretch there from Watts. Can't haul it in. Mark Stevens?
Yeah, not a bad idea. I mean, he's sadly lacking confidence. We saw him last week, one stage take a mark and not kick a goal when he really should have just nailed the goal. But good for his confidence to be able to run forward, run in straight lines.
Boundary throw in. Good start to this match. Mickeljohn found it. Just sat in his lap. Boots it forward. Eilert to kick the last score for Port Adelaide. Not held without the footy. Rob Fiarchi, who's been important for them, one of the most improved players. Ron Fuller's got a habit of doing this. O'Hara got it to Peter Fiarchi, who kicks it forward. Morrison, here's Watts. He's dangerous. Jammed it on the boot toward goal. It fades. One behind. The Eagles push forward. 7 minutes gone, and 13 plays one.
And Fergus Watts becomes very important now. He must hold down centre forward for the Eagles and compete all day. So he brings the ball front and centre with Mark Stevens having to be pushed back. Nathan Bock going to the Crows. They really are stretched height-wise in their defensive post.
We're allowed to say earlier that Fergus Watts has been a live wire?
No.
He's been good across there, hasn't he? He's given them a target at the moment as Clayton breaks from half-back for Port Adelaide. Into the middle, found Eilert, quickly on. Elstone through half-forward. Off the right foot was a pretty good kick. And Port Adelaide again with a mark just outside 50. Here's Davis. Just receiving the handball and going long to the square. The bounce, well trapped by Pasquale off the foot and through for a goal for Port Adelaide. And it was Mickeljohn in the end, or Matthews, who was in the end, who just got the foot with the ball.
And just
Matthews
smart.
in just his 4th game of football at league level.
And just smart play by Du Pasquale, just to keep the ball in. You can see he was going to go through for a point, but good reactions to get it back inside to Matthews, who started the full forward. And unusually, I thought Shattuck would have gone straight to Waterhouse. Joe Pedley's been given the big job. Matthews has got a big job today, just to hold down full forward and provide options as the Magpies go forward.
Nice bit of teamwork by Port Adelaide. Treby in the centre. Is looking for Peter Fiarchi, who just got the handle on it nicely. Away to Simmons. Simmons boots long. Target is Watts. Watts just worked his way into the contest. Now he's got to get a clean possession. He might just do that and drill one home. He had the run of the football, Fergus, and had the poise and presence of mind to be able to scoot around and kick a lovely goal.
Just a little bit too easy for Jim Ginnivan's liking. We get a look. The Eagles won it at half-back and Dale Simons kicked it long into space. And just Morrison just beaten the turn of leg speed there, and just a good shepherd there by King just to get his big frame in between them. Gave Fergus Watts time to turn it around the corner on his left foot. The Eagles get their answering goal very quickly.
Made it look easy, didn't he?
Certainly did. I mean, it's probably not one of his biggest attributes is his pace. It's not what he's renowned for. He's a big lad. He's still developing his body. It's a good aspect if he can add that to his game.
Yeah, just at this point, the Crows supporters will be saying, bring him in. They'll also be happy with Mark Stevens' start to the game as we get a secondary ball up in the middle. Tony Brown, important player in the SANFL now, important player for Port Adelaide. That looked like there was holding in there somewhere. Simmons, Davis did well, just reefed it out of there. Fiarchi was met twice. I don't know if either meeting was illegal, but the umpire thought so. So Fiarchi off the Treby. Didn't have much of the ball last week, did Treby. His kick that time wasn't great. Darzanos rode it well. Got the hand pass out to Powell. And then it turned to Watts. He can kick 2 in a row for the Eagles. And he does. Nice finish from Watts.
We saw last week the Eagles really struggled. It was really a dour effort. They looked flat, they lacked spark, but today they really come out. Just before, I think it was Ross Funky let the ball get over the back, and Luke Powell had been enjoying this week compared to last week where he was heavily tagged. And Fergus Watts, a real confidence booster at the start of the game to get 2 early goals. He's been important early in the Ron Fuller move of Stevens back. Fergus wants to hold down centre half forward, working a treat early.
3 straight kicks the difference. Early stages of this first term. Watts has been pretty dangerous up there. O'Hara got it down to Powell. Powell's been okay. Darzenos just thrown off the kick. Powell back in for another possession, a handball. Di Pasquale just dived forward. Ball caught underneath. Good call by the umpire for a ball up. Di Pasquale just throwing himself to ground.
Yeah, just an early call. Maybe Corey Archie to come out to centre half back. Maybe push the younger Morrison back to full back. Just as an early call. Makes Fergus Watts, who's off to a really good start.
Ron Fuller would be happy with the start, at least. Jakes just used his body to Elstone on his non-preferred, kicks it inside 50, haven't called Waterhouse at all. Pedler will wear him like a glove. Piarci tried to go off the ground. Pedler's handball is okay to Rob Piarci, who rides the bump, then holds onto the football, and I think he's gone.
So we'd like to get a replay. It's fairly harsh. There might have been one just too high. Oh, no, yeah, perhaps not a bad call by the umpire. Certainly didn't try to get the ball out.
Free kick to Port. Go for Davis. Takes the mark. The free kick went to Jeremy Clayton. Now Chad Davis gets the opportunity from, I'd say, about 40. Slight angle.
And is what he's in the side for. He's in the side as an opportunist forward. He's a very good finisher. Needs to kick this goal.
They could do with it to bring it back to a 2-goal difference, and he's missed to his near side, or he's missed big time, Chad Davis. Just need to try and get it to the top of the square or do something a bit better. Eagles come away from half-back, and Luke Powell's got it.
Got a lot of options on for Powell. In the end, he goes to McKenzie. Again, he was quiet last week. Trippi's on his left leg. That's his preferred foot, and he goes long and too long in the end. Slips over the back again. Clayton at fault, and perhaps Meiklejohn. Clayton dives on the ball. He'd want to get rid of it in a hurry. He does. Umpire will come in eventually. No, he won't. He'll allow it to play on. Port with the numbers there. Clayton was clever with poise. Got it to Funk. Then back to Elstone. He wants his left foot. Now Funk. Drives it up to half forward. Waterhouse the target. Stevens coming back along with Pedler. They punch it away. Piarci gathered it. Umpire call play on and still holding the ball. Well, Andrew Rogers, what were your thoughts?
Well, I suppose I'm always one for having a prior opportunity, and if Peter Piarci had a prior opportunity, well, then it's a fair decision. But hopefully we'll get another replay of that now. See, Peter Piarci looks through his options. Doesn't really make a valid attempt to get it out. Perhaps a little bit too quickly, I think the umpire may have whistled there. But
that would be my question, whether he was a bit sharp on the whistle as the ball sprang free of that contest. And I think it was Piarci who was trying to knock it out. In any case, Island has the free kick now, or at least from the mark, and he slots home a goal for the Magpies.
Yes, and I think the Eagles supporters would feel quite rightly aggrieved there. Perhaps a little bit quick kick there by the umpire. Good look at this free kick again, and Peter Piarci. Look, he's done the right thing, got inside him at the contest, quickly whistled a free kick, and they worked the ball quickly back. Cameron Islet, who was involved there, worked back into space, goes back and finishes the goal. So really a seesawing contest so far.
Well, I hate to say it, we saw so many of those last week that weren't penalised, and then this week a couple of that are penalised. Difficult one. Clayton. Ball knocked forward by Meiklejohn. That was good work to Brown. The skipper kicks it long. Stevens and Jakes. Stevens got a hand on it. That was good. Stokes uses Stevens. Needs to go over the top and look for Piarci. He is nailed by Waterhouse. Brilliant tackle by Clive. Ball I thought had trickled out of bounds. Boundary umpire says it's out of bounds now. We'll have a throw in.
It's more what we expect from the Magpies. They certainly haven't had the tackling pressure early, but good tackle by Clive Waterhouse. But also, look, a really good attempt and really good attack on the footy by Rob Piarci.
Right at the hips, there's Clive. Not had much of the footy yet, early days. Down to McKenzie. He looks for Watts, why wouldn't you? Meiklejohn's gone back. Here's Inkster. Inkster will go to Passador and he's non-preferred, further down toward King. Tumbling ball, it rolls towards goal. It will be an Eagles goal as Passador runs onto it and kicks an easy goal. And the Eagles get another one. They've got their fifth. Mark Passador, well, that's just too easy. How does that happen?
It certainly does, but Mark McKenzie won a really good takeaway here. And importantly for the Eagles, both Tim Inkster and Mark Passador had been down in previous weeks. get involved early, and they could have raffled it between there and Mark Passador will do his confidence a world of good.
Ronnie Fuller just making a change in the ruck. Paul Lindsay on, and he'll be raring to go after missing last week with suspension.
Passador, very much a 50-50 goal kicker this season. He had 9-9 before he slotted home that goal, so that's just his 10th for the season. Lindsay in there with a tap immediately. Bouncing around was Passador. Play on. And finally the umpire will come in and will call for another ball up. Ugly packet developed rather quickly around Mark Clayton. Lindsay was not very happy to be out last week. Suspension, and of course North Adelaide beating the Eagles very well. Davis sharked the tap. Passador did well. They share the ball. Stokes off the left foot, down towards Watts at half forward. Nice trap. The young man's going well so far. Watts turns around, just pops it inside 50. Powell will take the mark. Nicely done, good vision from Fergus Watts, and Luke Powell drifting down there to take the mark.
He's a little bit too easy at the moment for Fergus Watts in there. Just Andrew Morrison just giving him way too much latitude. You can see here he's zoning off him there. He's not really putting any real pressure on him. You can see the amount of time he's got. And Powell would just runs forward to the play, receives a relatively easy kick, gets a chance to kick his first goal for the day.
Oh, a chance for a 6-goal opening quarter. His kick is pretty good. It's excellent, in fact. And the Eagles have their 6th on the board.
And exactly what Ron Footer asked of during the week. As I said last week, they were very dour. They played without any flair and played didn't really play on very quickly. Today, they're playing on at all costs. They're working hard for each other. They're controlling the midfield. And running forward hard there is Luke Powell. Fergus Watts with just really good vision to find him. And importantly, Luke Powell went back and kicked the goal.
Just the 8th career goal to Luke Powell. A good one, though, who was terrific on Anzac Day, the medal winner. Well, it's scooted out to 4 straight goals now. Time for the panic button, perhaps, from Tim Geneva. Good work by Lindsay. Shark by Polton, who hasn't really got into the game. Di Pasquale will get a free kick. And Darzanos just gives him what could be one of those love taps. You know, players have been in trouble for love taps, Mr. Rogers.
He's a very spirited contester, is Spiro Darzan. Just held on in the tackle a little bit too long there. Certainly the ball jarred free in the tackle. Held on too long.
Last year's best and fairest, Di Pasquale to Funk, who gives it back to Di Pasquale, who cuts through the centre of the ground. What's on offer? Clive gives something. Back goes Lindsay and fills the hole. Good work. Smart footballer Paul Lindsay. And a man in open spaces in Stokes on the outer side. Eagles can build something here with a loose man. Darzanos, Floriani. Got it to Peter Fiacci, who kicks it inside 50. Lovely mark, Passador, running with the flight of the ball. Eyes only for it. And that is one of the toughest things you can do in footy.
There was a contrast in moves there. When the Magpies moved the ball forward, it was very congested. Paul Lindsay was able to sit back in the hole. The Eagles were able to repel that very quickly, get back to one-on-ones, and Mark Passador showed a lot of courage to come back with the flight of the ball, take a relatively easy mark. It takes a lot of courage not knowing what's going on around you.
Neil Cross pointed out 10-9, the 11-9. Pretty accurate, Mark Passador. Normally a real sharpshooter. They've got 7, and it is worrying times for the Magpies.
Certainly is. It may be time to try to shut down the game a little bit here for the Eagles. As you can see, they're running the ball through the midfield. And there's Mark Passador not really knowing what's going around him. Corey Archie, he's been under a bit of pressure early with Josh King. Probably needs to focus on the footy. And Mark Passador went back, kicked a relatively easy goal. Now, a little bit of rain falling as we speak. This 5-goal lead now becomes very, very important.
And you'll notice that Steed is into the centre and Knights is with him, and Steed a little bit of push and shove. Clayton gathered the ball beautifully despite those greasy conditions. Davis gave up the hand pass quickly. Half volley not quite on for either side there. The greasy conditions, as you see. Sikalella hasn't touched the ball, I don't think, so far this afternoon. If we get a bounce, we won't. We'll come back to that in a moment. Clayton, or rather, it was Meiklejohn with the big tackle in there. The Eagles scramble the ball forward again. Punch to the front, nicely done by Funk, read it best. Funk just waits, no options, had to go over the top. Davis, set up, ducked their head. Umpire said play on. Meiklejohn now, hand pass off to Funk, who fumbled. under pressure. Got the hand pass off again. Di Pasquale down to half forward. There's Steve with his first touch in league football for a long time. Good kick up, looking for Matthews. Ball falls over the back, off the ground, goes forward, and eventually it'll just go out of bounds and then forward pocket. Probably a good result in the end for Port Adelaide.
I find it interesting that Jack Carl was very much a bang and crash, kick it long to the forwards, very few possessions. This year, Port Adelaide 323 possessions a game. So we get a look at quarter time, we'll get a look at the state game preview, so it'll be interesting to see how both coaches talk about their sides.
Ball back in. Pedler went for the knock over the top, then he almost got one around the head, then he scrubby old kick. It was awful in the end. Clayton dropped it, the umpire ruled. Well, that was pretty vicious as well. He just couldn't shake clear of the tackle. Ball fell free. Free kick goes to Floriani.
Floriani uses Sikalala for one of those few possessions that he's had. Normally good by foot. Sikalala, Ian?
Yeah, just the 2 possessions, Michael.
Peter Fiacci. He's got it to Rob Fiacci. Kicks to half back. Very greasy ball. Free kick to Simmons. Over the shoulder. Advantage rule paid. Passador just kicks to a pack situation and no trouble at all for Jared Polton. A man loose on the wing. That's Tony Brown. Uses Funk, who's run forward. So the Magpies, this is where they've broken down time and time again. That forward line's been cluttered, and a blood rule just off the ball. It's like Mark Clayton coming from the ground with blood streaming from his nose. So we'll just a little bit of a hold up in play. How's that breeze down there, Sodas, and the rain? That ball will be is pretty slippery from what we can see. What about the breeze?
Well, the breeze isn't really that strong at all. It's just slightly going to the right end to Woodville's end, so not much advantage, but you're right, the ground is very slippery now and handling the ball will become very tough. It's a big lead, that 5 goals at this stage.
Mark Clayton for the patch-up job, and the blood rule allows the Eagles to get back and man up and really do clutter that Port Adelaide forward line. There's Mark Clayton getting the treatment. Funk just kicks to a pack situation. Big fly. No one can take the mark. Stevens, cool and calm, measures the kick to half-back. Knights is on the ground for the Eagles. We know he was a terrific player last week when introduced to the game. Looks for Watts, why wouldn't you? He's been on fire. Here's Stokes. Missed a lot of football this year with an ankle injury. Stokes just lobs it up, looking for King, but Coriace this time in front of King. To Brown, to Meiklejohn. So the Magpies need to build something from half-back. Morrison boots forward. Jakes can't take the mark. Over the back, Floriani. Desperation handball. Treby couldn't take it. Stevens, everything he's done so far back there is good. That's not good from Lindsay. Dropped the footy. Steed drills the pass. Matthews at the bootlaces can't take it. Terrific tackle, second effort. Here's McDowell, ducked the head, got a tackle. Crowd says ball, some sections. Here's Davis around the corner, and he misses everything. Frantic piece of play, but I tell you what, it really has been unravelling for the Magpies, hasn't it?
It certainly has so far. Just overusing the footy at the moment. It's not a hallmark of their play. They're just overusing the footy. Just get it going, get it long to a key forward, get a crummet front and centre.
Well, Treby was happy to go long that time because he ran himself into and out of trouble. Scrubby kick finds Brown, can go to Davis, opts for the dummy. Brown goes high and long, inside 50, at the back Polton. Just tries to ship it out. Matthews took 2 grabs, umpire called play on, and he called it straight away. Port fans not very happy, and neither was Jared Polton. I reckon when Matthews gets up, he'll have a lipful to deliver the umpire as well.
Yeah, it's always a debatable, isn't it? For Matthews, just get the first grab, maybe a touch from Shattuck. It's completed the grab. Unfortunately not paid for the Maggies.
30-point margin in favour of the Eagles at this point. The kick out of the pack from McDowell, and just a minor score.
Just get the feeling goals again, they've become really hard to come by, certainly while this rain persists and the ground gets slippery. So as Mark Soden alluded to earlier, goals have become a premium. So this 5-goal lead really looks like a very nice lead for the Eagles.
They've got 7 of them. Shattuck, who's making his debut for the Eagles today. Free kick to the Eagles. It'll go to Darzanos, who copped a heavy blow a moment ago. Cuts through the centre of the ground. Looks for Watts. Well done, Polton. Just got in the hole. Pretty good at doing that. Simmons just pushes off. Spills away to Morrison. Morrison from half-back for the Magpies, hoping for a mark. Up goes Matthews. Just went one-handed. Ball just kicked off the ground. It may go to Matthews. He may kick another one off the ground. No, he hasn't. Couldn't get a handle, Anthony Matthews, but interesting toe poke by the Eagles player in Shattuck, and could have resulted in a goal.
It certainly could have, but look, they've got two really key experienced defenders in Shattuck and Stevens down there. They're controlling the defensive post.
Eagles get it quickly to the wing. Fiachi slid in on top of Di Pasquale. Umpire called play on, holding the ball. Well,
they're hot on it today, aren't they?
Yes, as he slid into the ball, Fiachi slid with him, and that was it. He was gone. Stevens forward of the play now. Could drive long inside 50. Inkster was the target. Good position on his opponent. Fell over at the wrong time. Does McKenzie get a foot to the ball? No, he doesn't. It's rushed through for the minor score.
Just a clever click there by Mark Stevens. Kick it to the top of the square, put some real pressure on the defenders. If Tim Inkster just kept his feet, it would have been another goal for the Eagles.
We know umpires boss in the AFL, or one of the umpires hierarchy, and Rowan Saws is here today, so maybe the umpires have really ramped it up, because Rowan is watching the game today. Ball's on centre wing, and it'll go to McDowell for Port Adelaide. Pushes off, kick is not the best. It may fall okay to Waterhouse, who's got to try and get around Pedler. He did okay, squared it up, Funk, eyes on the football, bounced off his very ample chest and went through for a behind. I tell you what, he was tensed up there, Ross Funk. The ball ballooning off his chest through for a behind.
It's a clever kick by Clive Waterhouse. Bring that back to the top of the square. Funk, unfortunately, couldn't control the footy. Port Adelaide have certainly got better control of the footy as this quarter's worn on.
Very loose out of there, and Powell goes long, down to centre-half forward and Watts. It's knocked away by Morrison, who gets the rebound, hand pass, and then forward he goes looking for Di Pasquale. Here comes to Meiklejohn, inside 50. It was touched on the way there. Plenty of numbers for the Eagles. They can get it out. Simmons with the dive hand pass, and then it came from Fiachi into the path of Simmons. Around the corner was hopelessly unable to find his player, and out of bounds on the full. It was Rob Fiachi on his right foot. There's some excuse he is a left footer. Clayton with the free kick for Port Adelaide. Inside 50 for Waterhouse. Umpire calls it back. And Clayton was taking the free kick, and the umpire said it was Jakes, Jeremy Jakes, to take the out of bounds on the full free kick. Umpire suggesting that perhaps Jakes should read the rule book, and Jakes goes backwards. Maybe should read the coaching manual. Wasn't the greatest of kicks. Clayton inside. He goes to Elstone. Backs up quickly on the left foot. Late in the quarter. 28 minutes beyond that now. Eagles with plenty of numbers, including Stevens, who's the loose man. He goes in that direction. Stevens at the front, and good mark defensively by Mark Stevens, and he'll want to clear to the far side. The umpire's called him to play on. He's decided to come this side of the ground. He's gone to the short man in Stokes. Knights held his ground well. Off the left foot into centre-half forward again. Passador filling the centre-half forward position at the moment. Passador, and he goes back. It's knocked away by the Port defenders. Diving in there was Powell. Still play on. Umpire will come in. No, he won't. He won't have to. It comes clear. McDowell goes wide. He looks for Clayton. Inkster is very quick. He shuts down Clayton. He dives forward. Clayton now off the right foot, clever kick. Elstone with another position, looks up, kicks off the right foot again. Manages to find Davis. Davis with a bit of pace, through half forward. He looks for Waterhouse. Pedler comes to the front. Waterhouse at the back, gets the slip off the left foot. Out of bounds on the full.
Yes, and unfortunately for Clive, did everything right, worked the ball over the back. Had Matthews at the top of the square all on his own. Just didn't see him with his vision, blazed away. Unfortunately, Port Adelaide don't get the result they require.
Shattuck with the free, got it to Stevens, who found Floriani. But the Eagles unable to mount another attack before quarter time. There's Clive Waterhouse, who's worked hard against Joey Pedler, but you would have to say that delivery hasn't been good. The Eagles at quarter time, 7-2-44, lead Port Adelaide 2-4-16 by 28 points.
And just early on, the Eagles really controlled the game for the first 15 minutes. Were super early. Port Adelaide fought their way back into the game. They started to control the footy through in the midfield, give their forwards some more opportunities. Look, it's a nice lead for the Eagles with this win.
No doubt about that. A 28-point margin in front of the Eagles there, returning to some semblance of the form we saw from the first 4 games they played this season. Now, speaking of form, the last time that Victoria and South Australia clashed, it was at the Adelaide Oval, and South Australia copped a hammering. But as we look forward to their squad and what they've got lined up this time to go across to Melbourne next Saturday, they've got a fairly strong lineup, no doubt about that. They've made a couple of exceptions, but Central District with 8 players we see there, and we go through the Eagles. We're watching Sikalella this afternoon, McKenzie, Lindsay, Inkster, O'Hara all playing this afternoon. Gavin Colville unlikely to take his place in the state side. He's got osteitis pubis. As we look through that side, Port Adelaide, Jeremy Clayton, he is an exception to the rule that you have to have played for 12 months in the SANFL before you get selected for the state side.
Yeah, interesting that. You can see how topical it is, or how competitive it is between the two states, in that they're allowing Jeremy Clayton to play. This is the battle for who is the second best competition outside the AFL. Victoria now hold that crown as we get a look at some of the Victorians in their side. Some names we know from AFL days, and some names we know from South Australian days. We'll get a look here. James Burns, former best and fairest winner at Glenelg. A number of others there that we probably know from, as I said, AFL days.
Yeah, no doubt about that. James Burns gone to WA and then to Victoria, so he's played in all 3 of, if you like, the minor states in the grade of football we're talking about. And we just look down there, Chad Liddell, a very, very good player for Sandringham, and Tasmania's got a few representatives as well. Justin Platt, certainly one player we'd recognise, having played with Port Adelaide. So, yeah, very interesting lineups. And Salam Hassan, another player that we would well know because, of course, he played with West Adelaide, has chosen to go back to Victoria. And Podsy Ardley is the leading goal kicker in the VFL this season. So plenty to look forward to. Next Saturday, our ABC commentator Phil Cleary will be there. And just wonder, as he joins us, Phil, what's the Victorian attitude to this state game?
Well, Neil, everyone wants to be the best domestic competition in Australia. The victory in Adelaide in 2002 was massive for Victorians. In the old VFA, we could never win those games. It was a crucial step forward. And then to beat the Waffle 2 years later was big again. Look, we're primed up for the game. We hope we'll get a big crowd down at Port Melbourne. Of course, you've pinched a couple of our key players. Clayton and Tucky and Mitchell will probably be running out in the South Australian colours, and we're not happy about that. But look, we'll have a pretty strong side, I think, down at Port Melbourne, and Mark Porter in the ruck is crucial. You've got players like Blumfield in the midfield who'll have to do well, Bitterscombe. We hope we can kick enough goals, but I think it'll be a massive game, a really special day, but I think the Vics can get home.
Not surprisingly that Phil Cleary would think the Vics would get home. We look forward to that match next Saturday. And Phil, I'll see you because I'll be across there looking at the game. Should be a great one, Andrew. And look, we're going to have a chance now to hear from the Victorian coach, Mark Williams, and Peter Donegan, our ABC commentator from Victoria, caught up with him during the week.
Must be looking forward to the state game again after the experience of last year.
Yeah, very much so. Great honour to be chosen as the lead coach. It's been a great experience over the last 3 years. I've been an assistant the last 3 years, first to Donald McDonald and then the last couple to Jerry Fitzgerald. And a couple of wins over the last couple of years has been very exciting and been fantastic for the competition.
When you see that famous jumper, it just really makes you walk a little bit taller, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. There's real history behind it. Our competition now is the only competition that has the state of origin, and I know that the players all look forward to it and they all aspire to playing for the Big V. And as a coach, it's one thing I didn't really aspire to, but once you know that you can be involved in the state versus state, then it does give you a bit of a pep along, and you really do try to get yourself up there and get involved. And now that I've been able to be in the role as coach, I'm very excited about it and very honoured.
Yes, Mark Williams there. It's not quite state of origin, is it? But there's a lot of players that have changed sides from time to time, as we know.
Yeah, interesting how Jeremy Clayton, how does he handle, coming from Victoria, state game for South Australia, how important is to him? I suppose it comes down to the individual.
Mark Soderstrom, look forward to that match next week. Your thoughts on whether Victoria will be able to beat South Australia at home this time, having beaten them at the Adelaide Oval?
Well, no doubt South Australia will be very determined to make amends for that. They do have a quality squad, a nice mix of youth and a bit of seniority there. Perhaps Damien Squire might get the run to captain again. He captained that side in 2002, and I'm sure he'd like to make, well, amends for that terrible effort by the boys. Look, I'm tipping South Australia. I know Victoria has some quality in Justin Blumfield and a few others, but I think South Australia will be good enough to take the points.
Thanks, Sodas. Glad you're enjoying the rain down there. We're just about set for the second quarter. I remind you that that match next Saturday afternoon from 2:30 on ABC TV, Victoria against South Australia. Look forward to that. We look forward to the second quarter here at Albert, and the Eagles have made a good start. Here's Michael Maney.
Just Neil, the game needs Port Adelaide to kick the first couple, I believe. The scoring end to the right of screen, but the Eagles have dominated this contest. Round 8 SANFL footy, second quarter underway. Very, very wet and greasy. Ball just pumped forward for the Magpies. Good work by Jakes, who's working hard on Stevens. He kicks into the pocket. Waterhouse. Matthews might have taken the mark. Pedler had it chopped off. Well done, McKenzie. Back to Pedler. Shattuck. The kick needed to be okay. It ends up with Sikalella. Powell. Here go the Eagles, cutting through the middle. Luke Powell, long kick, looking for Watts. Well done, Eilert. To Funk. A lot of players out there with the long sleeves today. Eilert spots Di Pasquale. Centre wing, grandstand side, boots it long. Jakes goes back. Well done, Stevens, against the flow. Nice skill by McKenzie to boot it forward. Passador's been in everything in the first term. Knight started off this second term on the ground. Uses his non-preferred. He's hoping for a King mark. Oh, that is terrific play by Archie. Just a buffet away from King. It ends up with Eilert again, who chips to Clayton in front of Darzanos. So the handball, not too good. Clayton back in again. O'Hara just drills McKenzie. Quick hands by Knights to Darzanos. Now what's King going to learn? He's learned a few tricks. Well done. Taken by Stokes. He runs into an open goal and muffs it. Don't see that very often.
No, you don't. And early in a game when you can see the rain on the screen come down, Matty Stokes, normally a great finisher, was almost unreachable now for the Magpies, considering the range with a 5-goal, 6-goal margin early in this game. Won't make a difference at the end of the day, but it could just change the whole attitude of the Magpies.
Ball in and quickly onto the far side of the ground as the Magpies attack. Polton knocked it out clear. Morrison got it off as well. Biaggi inside 50 with the kick, looking for Waterhouse. It came over the back. Fiacci, that's Peter Fiacci, got it out the back, and now they'll clear it to this side of the ground. Simmons with a hand pass, clever. Pedler turns around, delivers by foot, wasn't the greatest of kicks. Powell made it look good. Then to McKenzie, wants to go cutting back through the middle, that's where he opts to go. Watts, nice mark at the front, made to stop, went vertical. Took a nice mark as he just goes back and he looks up and he's got to contemplate the fact that Magpies have a couple of loose players behind the ball, so he opts to go short, dangerous. Treby, the ball was punched away by Polton. Not the greatest of hand passes by Elstone, but finally it works out for the Magpies. Brown, now Polton. Hand pass was spoiled and knocked away. Polton got one high, umpire said play on. Treby with the tackle. Ball spills forward. Watts has only got to be somewhere in the area and he gets it at the moment. It's driven down into the forward line. King, ball knocked away Archie. Knights took possession, hand passed off. Now 3-on-1, Watts was one of them again. He's only got to be around the ball and he gets it. Drives it down towards Passador at the back. Dropped what he should have taken. And it was knocked through for the minor score.
Just feel as though the Magpies were over handballing at the moment. They really are handballing, that the conditions aren't conducive to it. We saw Jeremy Clayton try a high loopy handball. It just takes too long to get there. They need to change their game style very quickly in these conditions.
I'll need to do something positive here. Lee's just about got the staggers, but had the presence of mind to get it to Eilert, whose kick was looking for Shea Cockatoo Collins, who hasn't seen any game time so far, just fresh onto the ground. Kick down the wing. Darzanos, brilliant tackle by Polton, dispossessed, not rewarded. Peter Fiacci copped one high, and Jared Polton's not a happy camper, and you don't blame him. Should have been rewarded.
Yeah, and good. I don't think you should always reward the tackler, but at that stage, Spiro Darzanos decided to take him on. Should have been holding the ball.
Fiacci Kicks to a big pack. Up goes Micklejohn. Sitting at the back of the pack was McKenzie. He may go over the top or short to King. King can't take the mark. Ball's on the ground. King battles hard. Good work. In goes Stokes. Tries to get it to Knights. Diving on the football is Archie. Now, umpire, if you're going to be consistent, you might just ping Corey Archie, but we know whether or not.
Blindsided them, the umpire. The umpire came from inside the contest there. Didn't see Corey Archie dive on that. But once again, would have been very harsh, and a very quick umpire decision to actually do that.
Well, we've seen some harsh ones. That's the trouble. It's just too grey. And dwelling on it is not going to do anyone any good. Umpire Tony Day will throw the ball up. Packed forward line for the Eagles. Funk with another handball. Plenty of handballs from the Magpies. Good chip kick by Clayton found Cockatoo Collins. Ball squeezed out by Brown. Steed looks for Cockatoo Collins. The handball back to McDowell. Very slippery out there. Matthews has set a task. Got a good bounce. Just threw it on the boot. Wobbly old kick. It's a bit of a foot race. In goes Steed. Might have just tapped it with his boot. And Shattuck will clear for the Eagles to half-back.
Well, done well, Watts, roaming down from half-forward. He's at half-back, drives it wide. Polton and Powell clash. Powell first back to his feet.
Get it out, balls out!
Now Polton. He'll give it to Brown. Brown under pressure from Watts. Great smother by Watts. Oh, he's having the game of his life this afternoon.
You reckon he wants to run in the big time?
You think so?
And of course, that all comes with confidence that he got in the first quarter when he took an early, kicked a couple of early goals, took a nice mark, left foot snap for goal. He's playing with a lot of confidence.
Jakes and O'Hara. O'Hara got the punch down and just another 10 metres gain for the Eagles.
And doesn't that 5-goal lead become very valuable now? We spoke about it at quarter time and late in the first quarter. You can see goals are going to become a premium now. So 5-goal lead suddenly turns into about a 7 or 8.
Well, Jakes was pushed aside. O'Hara palmed it down to Floriani. Floriani went to half forward. Ball carried and over the boundary line. No, Watts got a hand pass, doesn't get credited with it, I wouldn't have thought. Ian Mogridge, for the first time this afternoon, run us through those stats of Fergus Watts.
Fergus Watts has had 2 marks, 7 kicks, 1 handball and 2 goals, 1. Interestingly, the Magpies have been inside 50 one more time than the Eagles.
Made the most of it clearly as O'Hara again gains another 20 or 30 metres with that punch down, as long as it's not punched from that situation of a ball in, out over the line on the full, it's all clear.
And of course, meterage does become important now. 20 metres is 20 metres your way. So all of a sudden the games are going to become very tight. There's not going to be very few clean possessions. So these punches are starting to tell a little bit.
Brown tried to escape from the pack, he couldn't. De Pasquale also had the same problem, scrambled forward by the Eagles into the forward pocket. Elstone was across there first. On his natural left leg, he goes wide, and Fergus Watts again. You almost don't have to call, you know it's got to be Watts. Off it goes to McKenzie, puts it up in front of goal. Archie is battling, and across the front comes Clayton, knocks it out of bounds. So the Eagles will set up again.
See Josh King and Corey Archie very heavily into the bodywork there. Corey Archie is a master of that sort of things. We get a look at some happy Eagles supporters. Corey Archie is going to win that battle most times.
A lot of congestion. Brown skirts around, kicked off the ground by Powell. And just through for one behind, so tough conditions. Players wouldn't be used to this, Andrew. Not too much rain in Adelaide in the last few months, so it's going to be tough for them today.
They need to adjust their game, flatten their hands out, get their body in line, take the handball out of the game. One handball, kick long, play percentage type football.
31 points, the margin. Treeby will come from behind and just punches it over the line. Don't know if Jeremy Clayton at just 175 centimetres is the best marking target that Port Adelaide could find at the moment. Micklejohn O'Hara go at it again. And there appeared to be both players holding there, so the umpire called play on. Brown was looking for the free kick. Standing on his feet was Simmons. Missed his target with a hand pass. Funk released it to Polton. Inside 50, running for him, Waterhouse. He opts to go in the direction of Cockatoo Collins. Rob Fiarchi is the chaser. Cockatoo Collins way too clever. Takes a bounce, that's dangerous. Still he evades really well. Cockatoo Collins to finish the job!
Oh, yes. And it's just taken a little bit of magic from Shea Cockatoo Collins to get Port Adelaide on the scoreboard in the second quarter. You can see he took Rob Fiacci on for pace, had the arrogance to have a bounce, and Rob Fiacci just loses his feet there, and that's the telling aspect there. Just gave Shea some time just to turn the ball around the corner. Something I really like, but look, he's a very magical player, has been for a number of years. That's what he's in this side for, opportunist goals.
Skipper Anthony Brown's just come off for a break. Going on, Shane Biaggi onto the ball.
Thanks, Mark. You can back that in. It'll make the highlights tape at the end of the year. That goal from Shea Cockatoo Collins. You get back to 25 points. The secondary ball up. And Cockatoo Collins has only been on the ground for a short period of time, but he's got a few touches and he looks quite dangerous. At this level, the Cocky should be able to do something.
Providing his body can remain sound, has very much been injury prone in the previous 2 or 3 years.
Di Pasquale just hacks it really. McDowell, Magpies look full of running, but McDowell's taken down and Ping for holding the ball. And Shattuck, or is it Simmons? They look alike. Shattuck and Simmons, I think it's Simmons who's got the free kick. Just gave it back to Luke Powell. Kicks to the wing, just beyond. Pumped away by Mickeljohn. Shark by Fiacci, who got it to Knights. High tackle, advantage rule paid. Mark Stevens boots it forward, and guess who? As another interchange is made. Long kick by Watts. Goes forward. The back, that's a lovely mark by Lees. In these conditions, any overhead grab today is well worth it. Or was that Morrison? Might be Morrison to kick that mark. Eilert just chips it in short. Coriace in front of Floriani. Uses Elstone, who was standing flat-footed. Here's this overuse of the ball again, instead of going for a long kicking target. Eilert decides enough is enough. Stevens slips at the crucial time. They come in, and he's pinged for holding the ball. Well, it's going to happen all day. Let's hope it's consistent for this match at least.
Did have an opportunity though, so I think the correct decision. Mark Stevens needs to look at his footwear. I reckon you mind everything he's got moulded. So.
Free kick to McDowell, drives it inside 50 for the high leapers. Eagles with a hand on the ball. It comes to ground. Treeby just released it with a hand pass. Waterhouse overran it. Now he's back, he's on it. So's his opponent. Well done by the Eagles. They spring it clear. And good aggression in there. And Floriani's gone down. And I actually thought that was good from Steed. He dived at the ball, and obviously Floriani caught one high. He's been given a free kick, plus 25. A little bit of abuse coming in there, as we might get another look at how that situation developed.
I think it was Jeremy Clayton actually over the top. There was more the high than our Steed in low, and there's Clayton in over the top. So I think you'll find that's what the free kick was for.
Well spotted, Andrews. The ball comes down. Floriani, not the most reliable of kicks. He goes short on the lead, was King. It's knocked away by Archie. Now Stevens just lost his grip on the ball. Hand pass came out. Knights is in trouble. Somehow it got to Stevens again. It looked like a throw. Play on for the umpire. Inkster back to Sikalella. Doesn't he use the ball well? That was just 15.
I think you've been kind there, Neil. I don't think that was 15. But look, just good awareness by Justin Sikalella. You can see a chain of handballs under pressure. People just really like a hot potato with a footy. Just had the presence, took his time. Was able to pinpoint Peter Fiacci.
Already with one this afternoon, Peter Fiacci, a chance to kick the 8th goal of the afternoon for the Eagles. They've been hard to come by in this quarter. The Eagles have kicked 3 points, and of course Cockatoo Collins, a brilliant goal. And that little chip off finds Sikalella, so returning the favour was Fiacci. Sikalella gave it to him in the first place.
Yes, and just lax marking. You saw how much time there was. Port Adelaide had plenty of time to flood back in numbers and set up a zone defence, so there was no spaces. Justin Sikalella just sneaked his way forward. Peter Fiacci just was going to struggle with the distance. Now Justin well within his range.
Normally very reliable. Let's see what this kick does. He starts it out on the right and it just comes back nicely. Another goal for the Eagles, and Alfie Steed's in there agitating. We might get a little bit of fisticuffs here at half forward for the Eagles. And they're into it. Jeremy Clayton in the middle of it, and it's going on, and we saw this last week. In fact, we saw free kicks 150 metres off the ball last week.
Certainly, and Alfie Steed, look, they need to get a spark, Port Adelaide. They really are just battling away, holding their own at the moment. Alfie Speed gets in amongst it. Maybe just need the spark they need in the second quarter.
Shane Biaggi and Mogridge is one of their prolific ball getters and only a small player. How many possessions for him?
Yeah, just the 2 so far. I don't think he was on the ground in the first quarter.
Magpies go forward. Cockatoo Collins in the middle of that. Pedlar held without the football. There's that man Biaggi who gets a kick toward the square. It might fly through. Well, normally when you give them a bit of a spur along, they just completely go dead. But Biaggi, that is a handy kick from there. It's back to 25 points.
It certainly is, and that's the type of player that Port Adelaide need now to get up there. Their small crummers are inside. You can see there, McDowell lays a good tackle, and Biaggi just shakes one off, shoves the footy on his boot, gets forward, clears Aaron Shattuck in a desperate dive. So Port Adelaide get the answering goal, and they're just hanging in there at the moment. It's a 25-point margin to the Eagles. We get a look on replay. Clearly over the line, so good umpiring, good goal umpiring by there. Probably not that hard of a decision, though.
Biaggi starting on the bench, as you said, Moggy, and reserves best in fairest last season, so he's played a bit of football in the 2s and he's been good in the 1s this year. We get a secondary bounce.
Starting to win some footy out of the middle now. Port starting to win some contested around the ground. Just a bit of a worry for Ron Fuller.
Eagles lead the inside 50s, 23-22, but a significant advantage in the tap-outs. Just pushing it forward, Morrison, and finally got possession. No easy possessions, and there's no exception. Ball comes across, Passador with the intercept, open goal. And he has 3 for the afternoon. And just that mistake crossing the ball across the goals, and it just sat there a bit long, Andrew.
Especially when goals, as I said earlier, are going to become very hard to get. It just sat up a little bit too far. Mark Passador just read it off a foot. Important for Mark Passador's confidence today. Kicks his 3rd goal, and he looks like a revived player. Once again, the Eagles have been sadly lacking in confidence in previous weeks. Himself and Tim Inkster, Mark Stevens have been really involved today. Good signs for the Eagles.
Well, you'd think Tim Ginner would like his players to take risks, but I think when you're 25 points behind and it's a 50-50 ball across the face, there's Tim.
Don't think there's going to be too many fingernails left at the end of the day.
He's got him down to the quick already. Magpies go forward. They've consistently been able to do this, to respond and at least go forward. Well done by Stevens, who is playing particularly well out of halfback. Inkster just uses Stokes. Stokes wants to cut back into the centre of the ground and spots Powell, who has to stand under it. Does brilliantly well, Powell. It bounces back to himself. King thought he might have got a nudge. No free kick. Umpire was right there. Clayton, that's Mark Clayton, who got it away to Micklejohn, who got a call on the wing from Funk. Darzanos is closing. Funk backs himself. Kicks down to half forward, and that is a brilliant kick. And I think Clive Waterhouse has taken his first mark of the afternoon as Funk continues to run forward. Magpies need the answering goal. That's a ball burster from Waterhouse. It's a long kick, but right on the teeth of the line. Shattuck and co. And there's Rob Biaggi, looks injured. Just got a paw on it, and it's through for a behind.
It's one of the very few times we've seen Clive Waterhouse get away. You see a great contest by Shattuck there. Just decided to throw himself with the footy. Wasn't worried about anything about him. Very good play.
Ball quickly in while everyone at home is wincing at Rob Biaggi. Stevens goes short to Powell. Powell takes his time. He can go to Ciccolello in the middle. He opts to go in the direction of McKenzie, who had 20 metres on his opponent. McKenzie inside 50 with the kick. Sits up high again. Archie was the master of that. Swooping in quickly. Darzanos taken high. Little doubt about that, I would have thought. We'll get another look on replay, certainly from the umpire's point of view. Darzanos was the recipient of a free kick.
Yes, and Andrew Morrison, just a couple of decisions. You can see clearly over the shoulder there. Very hard to tackle there when Sparrow got his head over the footy. Morrison just cost Port Adelaide a goal, now giving away another free kick. I called earlier about maybe changing over Fergus Watts. It might be time to give Andrew Morrison a bit of a break on the bench.
Darzanos might be stretched by this kick. He kicks from 49, sits it up. It's not quite going to make the distance, almost. In the end, well, they kept it in. A little bit of a surprise from the Port defenders, and certainly Clayton at this stage is regretting it. He got tackled and dumped unceremoniously over the line. It was De Pasquale who kept it in.
Ron Fuller just shuffling around attack. Josh King coming off for a break going on. Vinny Rugolo He's a pinch hitter. Hopefully he can sneak one in for the Eagles, Ron will be thinking.
And he does offer, he's going to look at Ron Fuller and he does offer something different, Vinny Regala. He's more a crumbing ball type player, so expect him to get in amongst it with Corey Archie.
Mackenzie, clever. Oh, and gee, what a surprise. Fergus Watts is the recipient. He has been very good this afternoon, and as you said, Andrew, several times, his confidence is now up.
He certainly is, but look, Mark McKenzie is really a class act in the midfield and probably been the best player on the ground, along with Fergus Watts. His usage of the footy and his vision has stood far and away above anyone else on the ground so far.
Mark McKenzie's had 9 possessions in this quarter alone.
Fergus Watts lays back on the kick. Another goal for Watts. 3 for him, 3 for Passador. The forward line is certainly functioning this afternoon for the Eagles.
It certainly is, and they really have played tall in previous weeks with Mark Stevens, Fergus Watts, and a number of others, Mark Passador, playing forward. Today they've gone with a bit smaller lineup with Fergus Watts, and now we see Vinny Regalo at full forward. And giving the conditions, it's working very well for them. But Fergus Watts, as I said, had a very good start to the game and has really carried on that form in the second quarter.
The Eagles have obviously had a bit of a think during the week at how they're going to go about it, and they lead by 6 goals at the 20-minute mark of this second term. Ball out of the centre, Port go forward. Cockatoo Collins always looks dangerous near the footy. Waterhouse can't take it. Jake's taken the ground. Robert Fiacci just ducked the head. Out to Peter Fiacci. He gets that really high ball drop and it's chopped off by Jeremy Clayton. A couple of Claytons, a couple of Fiaccis, and only one Waterhouse, and he can't take the mark. And Spiro Darzanos gives him a little one to go on with. It's Peter Fiacci. This football has improved amazingly. Free kick will go to Lindsay against Jakes.
It'll go to Peter Fiacci. Waterhouse made a beeline for him and just tried to take him out. And it was something that happened over the boundary line before that.
Let's have a look at it. There's Big Clive.
It's fairly soft though, isn't it, really?
A lot of stuff happened off the ball last week, Andrew. Not a lot of stuff today, but the umpires in front of one of the umpires' bosses in Rowan Saws have been quite pedantic today.
Yeah, it wasn't as if he really tried to take him out or really tried to hurt him. It was more an intimidation factor. Such is the umpire these days. They look at that, and unfortunately or fortunately for the player concerned, you get a free kick.
Let's hope they all speak nicely to each other and don't get 50 metres like we saw in the AFL last week. Boundary throw in. Powell, unlikely ruckman to Stokes, who is a rover. Archie, lovely mark in the conditions, Corey Archie. And the kick was terrific too to Steed. Smack bang in the centre of Alberton Oval. Steed got a call from Brown, who presented at half forward. In front of Fiacci. Brown kicks to the flank. Good kick too. Finds Di Pasquale, who always wants the left leg. Ran out of room and got it back to Cockatoo Collins, who we've had enough water today from the clouds. Up goes Elstone. Can't take the mark. Ball at ground level, a lot of players around there, and we have a ball up about 45 metres out from the Port Adelaide goal, and they really do need one out of this play here, Andrew.
And it's just a lack of a real forward target that's really killing them. They haven't got the confidence to use the centre corridor.
They're not going to get one as Stokes finds Passador just back of the wing. Watts gave him something toward the flank. I think Passador's wanting to take it through the corridor, if anything. Just holds onto the footy for an absolute fortnight, then decides to kick to a 2-on-1. Port have the numbers. Eilert sharked it. Clayton through traffic. Was great to Elstone. To Biaggi, who looks for Waterhouse. Bumped away by Pedlar. Funk. Got it away to Brown. To Mark Clayton, who finds Steed. Now Steed's waiting on a lead, and he won't get one. Shattuck couldn't take the mark. Mark Clayton, perhaps held without the footy. Matthews over the top, and they will get their goal in the end, as Waterhouse drills through his first.
Just weight of numbers forward then for the Maggies. They certainly severely outnumbered the Eagles' defence, and it was a brave effort by Aaron Shattuck. You can see here, he's just trying to pinpoint it forward. Shattuck perhaps should have taken the mark. Hangs on a little bit to one, but you can see the just weight of numbers here for the Magos. They could have raffled that one. Clive Waterhouse has his first real impact on the game today, Joe Pedler's done a pretty good job on him. And as I said, the Magpies get an answering goal, a very important goal, just as we deep in time on this second quarter.
Important centre break now. Passador overran it. Fiacci, that's Peter Fiacci with the hand pass out. Clayton unexpectedly received their hand pass. Now Cockatoo Collins, that looked like a throw. Play on. The Eagles have forced it their way. Knights forces it even further forward. Inside 50, pushed out of the contest was Rugolo. Now it comes in the direction of Eilert. And finally, Biaggi is clear for Port Adelaide. He goes short. Not a bad kick. Pasquale does his best feinting. Takes his time now. A quick look down the ground. Pretty much everyone's covered, so he opts to take a risk. Across he goes to Clayton in the middle of the ground. Morrison was running out wide for him. He opts instead to pause and go through the corridor again. This time Polton. Polton drives up high. Target was Waterhouse. Shattuck comes from behind and splits the pack with a punch. Now Waterhouse on the ground. He can do anything. This guy, what's he going to do this time? Hand pass off. The left foot of Elstone from 45 metres is away to the right.
Stone win some of the footy, but with Corey Archie now that Daniel Lees has gone back to full-back as we get a look at Dale Simons coming on and Mark Passador coming off. Just with Corey Archie now playing half-back, it may be the opportunity just to push into centre forward. He's played plenty of good footy at centre forward. They don't seem to have any confidence to go to Jake's one-on-one with Mark Stevens.
That's one top half of football by Passador, who takes the break. Powell, who continues to get the ball to the acting skipper in Sikalala, who got it to Zarzanos. Here's Simmons in an awful amount of space, and he lets himself down badly with the kick. Just needed to finish off. Mark taken by Cameron Eilert, who's been good at half-back. Spots Mark Clayton, who's run off half-back. Terrific work. Over the top, finds Elstone. Elstone will drill it inside 50, and look for Clive Waterhouse on the lead. Well, you won't beat that any week in football if you move it quickly like that, and Waterhouse on the end of one lace out.
And such is today's footy. We saw Dale Simons miss the kick down this end. There we get a look at the transference of play to the outer side where Clayton was able to get hold of it. And eventually Elstone's able to pinpoint Clive Waterhouse on a fast lead. That's what Clive Waterhouse needs to do, move Joe Pedler around.
Waterhouse for his second, and to bring it back to 23 points, he puts hands on head as he misses one he should have got.
Yes, he certainly should have kicked that. A player of his experience and his ilk should be really dominating. But he's the only dangerous forward for the Magpies so far. If, in fact, Joe Pedler can get on top, we get a look at Clive Waterhouse. He realised he's missed a golden opportunity there late in the second quarter.
Another opportunity perhaps coming. Funk with a free kick. Inside 50. Can take his choice of what he wants to do. Sends it to the top of the square. Cockatoo Collins fumbled it. It's still loose and it will go through. In the tackle of Cockatoo Collins, Pedler was content to take it through for the minor score. So Port Adelaide making a surge, but hamstrung somewhat by the fact that they keep kicking minor scores.
Certainly is, and we saw earlier the Eagles kick 7-1. Certainly, if they kick 3 goals 4 or 3-5, there's a real bit of difference on the scoreboard.
McKenzie finds Treby, who cuts it back inboard to Robert Fiacci, who drills it. Here's Watts, crashes the pack, cleans his own man up in Knights. Mark Clayton and Simmons vie for the football. Simmons, but it's half-time. Siren blows at Alberton Oval. And a pretty fiercely contested first half of football. Now there's a free kick in the middle, right at the death knell, and it's going to, I think it may be going to Simmons. And he's going back from about 150 metres out. He's going to have a shot in a wet day with a heavy football, Andrew.
He wanted to be Malcolm Blight from about 1978. Should be able to get this, I think.
He wouldn't get it in free kicks, but he's had a bit of a crack. That is a pretty decent spiral, and he's fallen about 10 metres short. Not a bad effort from the young man, but they really did keep an eye on the footy. A bit of rough stuff going on as Vinny Rugolo with a smile on his face. Daniel Lees. Everything's all sorted out. It's half-time at Alberton Oval. The Eagles 10-5-65 lead the Magpies 5-8-38 by 27 points. Take us through the goal kickers in that first half of football.